Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to give you guys an update. In my previous video, I mentioned that the beginning of February was a shit show and that February has been a shit show, and you guys asked me to elaborate upon that, so thank you for caring. So I cried more in the first 2 weeks of February than I did in all of 2017. Times 2, and I lost a best friend in 2017, so it was pretty bad. It was traumatic, and I'm not saying that to be dramatic, but it really was traumatic. I was waking up crying, going to bed crying. I was just crying all the time, and it seemed like it was for no reason, but I don't really think people cry for no reason. I think it's repressed or it's overwhelm, and for me I think it was overwhelm, and I had some stuff going on with my family too. And I just started a new job. I was, and still am, a graduate student, so it just felt like there was so much on my plate, and my depression just fucking decided to be like, hey, guess what? We're gonna get so much worse. And I'm used to those feelings in some way, you know, of feeling like my life will amount to nothing, feeling like everything I'm doing is useless, feeling like I'm inadequate. Like, those are all things I'm familiar with because I've had depression for a very long time now, so those aren't normal things for me, as depressing as that is. But in this case, it was so entirely magnified and emphasized that it just caught me off guard because I haven't been that low since, you know, I OD'd or even before that. Like, it was really, really bad, to the point where there were some days where I had school where I'd wake up before my alarm clock, which I sleep shit and usually wake up for a couple hours, then crash, and then I'm awakened by my alarm clock. So it's weird that that even happened. And I had to take, okay, and I had to take depression baths before school, which is a first. I've taken depression baths after school or on weekends, but before school was a new kind of low, because it was kind of like you haven't even gone out into the world, you haven't had any interactions with anyone, and you're already fucking just over it today. More than that, I think, and this week has been kind of a residual kind of, you know, when you're super, super, super overwhelmed for a while, and then the week after, you still, even like if things are figured out or fixed or whatever, you still feel some kind of tension and some kind of exhaustion. Well, that's what this week was like for me. I think I started questioning a lot of things that I've thought out, you know, like I haven't just come to the States, done college, started my graduate studies, you know, just like randomly. Like, these are all things I've thought out. But due to this kind of, I guess, overwhelm, leftover overwhelm, I started really doubting my decisions, doubting myself, doubting whether I'd ever amount to anything, just really giving myself a hard time on things that I know I want and that I chose and that I planned out. Which is always kind of scary because, you know, if you do something on a whim, okay, it's fine to overanalyze it and be like, oh my god, did I do the right thing? But when it's something that you strategically have chosen to do, it's scary when your mind suddenly is like, maybe you shouldn't have done that, you know? So there's that. Also, the job I have right now, I'm just not a fan of the job I have. Mainly because I love tutoring. I like teaching. I want to teach at college level. Which is why I want to pursue a PhD soon, but the job I took was kind of misrepresented in the sense that they're like, yeah, you're going to be doing tutoring, blah, 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 and for me, tutoring is like, hey, student X will come see you every Thursday at 4, and it's a set schedule kind of thing. Nope. Here, it's like I have to market myself, which is specifically why I like jobs teaching and doing stuff like that, because you don't have to market yourself, and I don't like having to like kind of sell myself, being like, hey, I can totally help you, you should come to tutoring, and be that annoying person, because I don't like those people. Like, those people piss me off, so I don't want to be that person. But at the same time, if I don't do that, I don't get paid. And essentially, this job, even, it's funny because I was talking to my mom about it, and she's like, that job is a ripoff, and I was like, yeah, exactly. So essentially, my job right now is that I'm a tutor. So I attend the lecture, so that's part of this tutoring gig, is that I have to attend the lecture, and then after the lecture I can tutor people if they show up. If they don't show up, and even if I stay there for 2 hours just waiting for someone to show up, I don't get paid. I literally only get paid if someone shows up and for the time I spend in the lecture. So that's a thing. So I'm really unhappy with that job, and I think that that's also part of it, because it's kind of like, it feels like what I'm doing is useless, and who wants to feel that way? And I've had multiple people tell me that this job is a ripoff, and of course that causes some kind of animosity within me, because it's like every time I'm there, I'm thinking of like, oh God, you know, I could be doing something else, but at the same time I also need to have this experience for my PhD application, so that's kind of what is keeping me from quitting. Anyways, so that's been a big contributing factor. Other than that, I have also been in my queer theory class, right? And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know about this, and if you don't follow me on Twitter, you should, because I think that my live tweeting from my queer theory class could be pretty interesting. But I also post a lot of shit there, so if you're interested, whatever, sorry for the plug. And that queer theory class is super interesting in a lot of ways, but it is filled with SJWs, and I'm gonna make a separate video explaining why I'm in that class and all that other shit, so don't ask me about that just yet, but that is also very tiring because it feels like I'm constantly fighting with people, even if like I'll say maybe one thing during the span of the 3 hours of that class. It just always feels like very tiring to be there. So I think that all of those things, you know, kind of like the amalgam of all those things created a kind of environment where it would be very, very easy for me to be more depressed than usual. And I think that I'm in some kind of transitory period too, because, you know, I'm a graduate student, so I'm no longer a college student, so I still have imposter syndrome, and a lot of other graduate students that have graduated were saying that sometimes it takes some time for you to realize that you're not a college student anymore, and that what you're doing isn't the academic world, and like what you're doing matters for your future, and it does in your bachelor's too, but especially if you're going for a PhD, it feels like you're in a weird kind of limbo, because it's like, yeah, I did my bachelor's, but I'm not at my PhD yet, so I'm in these weird 2 years where I have to do a bunch of shit, and I don't know, it just makes you feel like you're not really doing anything, if that makes sense. I know a lot of you have said that your February has been shitty too, and I'm really sorry about that. I hope things get easier for all of us, honestly. March is right around the corner, so we can just hope for that to not be a shit show. But if you want to vent in the comments or just talk about what you've been going through, definitely do that, and I'll try and get back to you, or at least let you know that I've read your comment. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for actually caring to hear an update. That was pretty surprising to see. Thank you, as always, to my patrons, and let's get into the fan art.